In this hands-on exercise, we're going to work with different types of lines. When we get done, we should end up with a part that looks something like this. The exercise is going to be called Sketch Line Type / Hands-On. I'll have this in the working folder so you can see what it should look like when we get finished. But to start with, we're just going to go up here to New. We're going to select the metric folder. We're going to just pick the regular standard or metric template. Create. And we're going to create a 2D sketch. And we're going to rotate our plane around so up is up. I don't like it when, for whatever reason, it does it on the side for us. If you want to start from the front, you can pick the other plane, but we're going to be working with up being up, so to speak. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line anywhere on my page. I'm going to convert it over to a center line. I'm going to use the coinciding constraint to lock down the center line of the center line to our origin point. What that should do is give us a way to keep the line from moving around as much on us and give us a good steady working platform to start from. Then I'm going to sketch out our object. Remember, size really doesn't matter. We're just kind of eyeballing it here. The only thing we're really concerned about is the shape. So I want to get it kind of close. And then I'm going to add any constraints. One thing I'm going to do is coinciding constraint from the center point of that circle to that line. I'm going to also do a tangent here. Tells me it's already exists. Should have checked it first. Looks good. So I'm ready to start adding dimensions. So I had the overall height of 40 millimeters. It's going to scale it down for me. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Then I'm going to come in here. And this bottom leg, I'm going to make 6. This top part here, I'm going to make 10. I'm going to make this little projection here a 35-degree angle. I'm going to make this little part here 5 millimeters. Then I'm going to say this to this will be 12. This to this line here, it's going to be 50. Now you notice it automatically dimensioned my center line. I don't need this. I'm going to delete it. Sometimes it will get a mind of its own and want to do something like that, and that's okay. So everything looks pretty locked down with the exception of I've still got some green lines. That's telling me I've got some freedom here. I need to fix some of that. So dimension from the center point here to the top. Should be 18. Still got green lines. So I'm going to do a horizontal from the origin point to the center point there. Maybe it's a vertical. Remember I told you sometimes vertical becomes horizontal, horizontal becomes vertical. So I've got everything locked down, but I've got one more. So I'll do a dimension there. So I locked it down. And what happened with that horizontal and vertical there is, even though we're showing up is up, remember when we rotated that sketch when we first started it? What happened there is up is really sideways on this sketch. I want you guys to see that because you're going to see this a lot in the real world. Sometimes things get twisted and turned. It's not the end of the world. We just undo and we redo it as a vertical instead of horizontal or vice versa. So when you get done, your sketch dimension should look something like this. You don't necessarily need to worry about where they're at as much as what the values are. So everything looks good here. We hit finish. And we hit revolve. You can just take all the defaults. It's right out of the gate there. And we have the basis of our part. So we're going to say create a 2D sketch. Click this top plane. I'm going to draw a rectangle across here, like so. I'm going to exaggerate it on purpose. I want this to be larger than the part. I'm going to project in my outside edge using the project command. I just come up here, I select project, and I select the outer edge. I'm going to use the tangent command. So I'm going to say this line, tangent to this line, tangent to this line. Then I'm going to use the horizontal command. And I'm going to lock this down so that it makes it symmetrical, basically. I could draw a construction line through there or center line and make a symmetrical constraint, but it's easier just to use that horizontal constraint and lock it down. I'm going to give this a dimension. So now we have 4 millimeters. I do want to make sure that my rectangle goes outside of my part, and I'll show you why right now. So now we have something like this. We say finish sketch. Say extrude. With this one, you'll notice we have several different closed areas we could select, so it's kind of hard for Inventor to figure out what you're wanting to do. You could come in here and move your mouse around and get that just perfect. The easy trick here, go to the center. There's not as much for it to choose from, and so it'll just automatically choose the one you want. We select cut, and the distance is going to be 6.3 millimeters. Looks good. Next, we're going to put a sketch here on bottom. Say 0. Should be about like that. And I'm going to do a rectangle and a rectangle. Once again, I exaggerate them on purpose. The reason is if you try to create some little tiny rectangle and you accidentally snap to some geometry inside of this part, then it's very hard to figure out what the constraint is and where it is and what you have to do to undo it. Whereas if you over exaggerate it and then bring it back in, it's easier to handle. It's easier to see, it's easier to manipulate. So I always over exaggerate and then bring it back in. Even my day-to-day designing that I do, I always do this. I'm going to do an equal so that these are equal in size. I'm going to start the dimension command. I'm going to hit 4 millimeters. There we go. I'm going to once again drag this out. And I want to take a look here. And I'm going to use the tangent constraint again. Select the outside of the line there. You can see we're good. We don't have to lock these down, but we do want to make sure that they are bigger than the object we're cutting. I like to go ahead and put a coinciding on there. I can do a vertical lockdown too, so that these will be locked down to the center point here. If you want to add a dimension in here to lock it down, we can. You know, there's the exception to every rule. You always want to have fully constrained sketches. Something like this, you don't necessarily have to. It's good practice to get used to it. Say finish. This time we're going to do the extrude command again. Pick our two rectangles, say cut. And we're going to go to 2. And we pick this flat face here. Hit OK. So now that's made it into kind of an indexer. And we can save this as sketching line types. Save. I'm going to call mine sketching line types hands on. So I don't override yours. I'm going to do 2. Hit save. And we're done.